Hi, I'm Alice. 6 months after losing my husband Jeff to a heart attack, I was finally starting to put one foot in front of the other again. The grief counselor said it was normal to start clearing out his things when I felt ready. I never expected his sister would have such a violent opinion about it. "Morning, Alice," Emily called out as I entered our office break room. "How was your weekend? Did you finish sorting through Jeff's closet?" I poured myself a cup of coffee, the aroma momentarily bringing me comfort. "Yeah, finally got through it. Donated most of his clothes to that veterans charity he liked." "That's really thoughtful," Emily said, her voice gentle. "I'm sure Jeff would have appreciated that." "Thanks. It wasn't easy, but—" I paused, fiddling with my coffee cup. "Feels like a small step forward, you know?" Emily nodded. "Absolutely. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting him." "Try telling that to his sister," I sighed. "Diane texted me 3 times this weekend asking what I was doing with his things. Like I need her permission." "Seriously? It's been 6 months. Does she expect you to preserve his closet like a museum?" Emily rolled her eyes. "Apparently, she even asked for his watch collection, said they should stay in the family." I made air quotes with my fingers. "The family? You're his wife." Emily's voice rose in indignation. "Were," I corrected quietly. "But yeah, I kept the watches. They were special to Jeff and maybe someday." I trailed off, unable to finish the thought. "She's always been possessive of her brother," Emily said, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. "Remember how she tried to plan your entire wedding?" "Don't remind me," I groaned. "Jeff always said she meant well, but she's controlling and thinks she knows best," Emily finished. My phone buzzed. "Speaking of the devil," I muttered, glancing at the screen. "She wants to meet for coffee. Says we need to talk about Jeff's things." "Are you going to go?" Emily asked, concern etching her face. "Might as well get it over with," I sighed. "Starbucks is public enough. What's the worst that could happen?" The answer came 2 hours later at the downtown Starbucks. I'd barely sat down with my latte when Diane stormed in, her face flushed with anger. "Hello, Diane," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "Thanks for— dating? Already?" she interrupted, her voice trembling with rage. "My brother's been gone 6 months and you're already seeing someone?" I blinked in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb," she hissed. "Mark Townsend? My friend Charlotte saw you having dinner with him last week." "Mark is an old friend who's been checking in on me since Jeff died," I explained, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. "We were discussing financial planning, for God's sake. He's an accountant." "Right," Diane scoffed. "And I suppose selling Jeff's things is also just financial planning?" "I donated his clothes to charity," I said firmly. "Something Jeff would have wanted." "You have no idea what Jeff would have wanted!" Diane's voice rose, drawing stares from nearby tables. "You're erasing my brother from your life." "That's not fair," I said, my own anger building. "I'm just trying to— To what? Move on? Replace him?" Diane grabbed her coffee cup. "You never deserved my brother." Before I could respond, she flung her coffee directly at my face and chest. The scalding liquid soaked through my blouse, burning my skin. I screamed in pain as Diane stormed out, leaving me dripping and humiliated. "Oh my God!" A barista rushed over with towels. "Are you okay? Should we call someone?" Through tears of pain and shock, I managed to pull out my phone. "Yes," I whispered. "Call my friend Mark. And the police." The emergency room doctor confirmed first-degree burns on my chest and neck. Painful, but not severe enough for permanent damage. Mark sat beside my hospital bed, his normally cheerful face grim with concern. "I still can't believe she did this," Mark said, shaking his head. "Over a business dinner? That's insane." "It's not about the dinner." I winced as the nurse applied ointment to my burns. Diane's always thought she had more right to Jeff's memory than I did. This was just her breaking point. "Well, Officer Jenkins wants to talk to you once you're finished here," Mark said. "She's waiting outside." The nurse finished bandaging me and stepped back. All done. The doctor will prescribe some pain medication, but these should heal in a week or so. You're lucky it wasn't worse. Thanks. I managed a weak smile. Officer Jenkins entered after the nurse left. She was tall with cropped gray hair and a no-nonsense expression. Mrs. Miller? I'm Officer Jenkins. She introduced herself, notepad ready. I understand you want to press charges for assault? Yes, I said firmly. My ex-sister-in-law, Diane Weber, threw hot coffee on me deliberately. Can you walk me through exactly what happened? Officer Jenkins asked, pen poised. I recounted the events while Mark occasionally nodded in confirmation. And you have witnesses? Officer Jenkins asked. The entire Starbucks saw it, I said, including Emily Chen, my coworker who arrived just as it happened. I've already got her statement. Officer Jenkins nodded. And the store manager says they have security footage. Good, Mark interjected. Then this should be open and shut, right? Assault cases usually are when there's clear evidence, Officer Jenkins said. But Mrs. Weber is already claiming it was an accident. An accident? I almost shouted. She called me horrible things and then threw it directly at my face. I believe you, Officer Jenkins assured me. But her husband, Michael, has already hired a lawyer. Of course he has, I sighed. Michael always cleans up Diane's messes. Just then, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Alice, it's Charlotte, Diane's friend? What do you want? I asked coldly, putting the phone on speaker. I was at Starbucks today, in the corner. I saw everything. Charlotte's voice wavered. And? I prompted. And it wasn't right what Diane did, Charlotte said quickly. She's been saying horrible things about you since Jeff died, but this crossed a line. Mark leaned forward. Would you be willing to make a statement to the police? Charlotte hesitated. Diane's been my friend for 20 years. She assaulted Alice, Mark said firmly. Friends don't cover for friends who commit crimes. I know, Charlotte sighed. That's why I'm calling. Yes, I'll testify if needed. After hanging up, Officer Jenkins looked satisfied. That makes 4 witnesses, plus the video. We have a solid case. What happens now? I asked. We'll arrest Mrs. Weber for assault, Officer Jenkins explained. With the evidence we have, the prosecutor will likely offer a plea deal. Will I have to see her in court? I asked, suddenly feeling exhausted. Possibly, Officer Jenkins said. But with this much evidence, she'd be foolish not to take a deal. As Officer Jenkins left, Mark squeezed my hand. You know Michael's going to call you, right? Try to get you to drop the charges? Almost on cue, my phone rang again. Michael's number. Alice, it's Michael. We need to talk about what happened. There's nothing to talk about, I said coldly. Diane assaulted me. I have burns and witnesses. Look, Diane's upset. She loved her brother. And seeing you move on has been hard for her. Michael's voice was placating. Can't we handle this privately? Family to family? We're not family anymore, I said firmly. And Diane made that very clear today. She made a mistake, Michael insisted. She's willing to apologize and pay for your medical bills. An apology won't undo what she did, I replied. And it certainly won't change how she feels about me. Think about what Jeff would have wanted, Michael tried. Don't you dare use Jeff against me, I snapped. Jeff would be horrified by what his sister did today. Alice, please. No, I interrupted. The police have the case now. Diane will face the consequences of her actions. I hung up as Mark nodded approvingly. You did the right thing, he said. Now we need to make sure Diane never comes near you again. 3 days later, I was back at work when Emily rushed to my desk, eyes wide. Heads up, she whispered urgently. Diane's downstairs asking for you. My stomach clenched. Did security stop her? They're holding her in the lobby, Emily confirmed. Want me to tell them to send her away? I considered it, then shook my head. No, I need to face her eventually. Tell them I'll be down in 5 minutes. Are you sure? Emily looked concerned. Your neck still looks pretty bad. I'm sure, I said. touching the bandages beneath my collar. I want her to see what she did. Downstairs, Diane was pacing the lobby, looking simultaneously angry and nervous. When she saw me, she rushed forward until a security guard stepped between us. "It's okay," I told the guard. "We can talk over there." I pointed to a seating area visible to the reception desk. Once seated, Diane immediately launched in. "You're pressing charges? Seriously, Alice?" "You assaulted me," I stated flatly. "What did you expect?" "It was a moment of anger," Diane protested. "I've been under stress since Jeff died." "We all have," I countered, "but I didn't throw scalding coffee at anyone." "I came to apologize," Diane said, her tone shifting to something closer to pleading. "I shouldn't have done it. I was just so upset seeing you with that man." "His name is Mark," I interrupted. "He was Jeff's friend too, and he was helping me with financial planning because, surprise, losing your husband creates a lot of paperwork." "How was I supposed to know that?" Diane demanded. "You could have asked instead of assuming," I said coldly. "Or, here's a thought. You could have respected that even if I was dating again. That would be my choice to make." "6 months is too soon," Diane insisted, her eyes filling with tears. "It's like you never loved Jeff at all." Something snapped inside me. "Don't you dare question my love for Jeff. I was his wife. I held his hand in the hospital. I was there when he took his last breath. Where were you, Diane? Stuck in traffic because you couldn't leave work early?" Diane flinched as if I'd slapped her. "That's not fair." "None of this is fair," I said, my voice rising. "Jeff dying at 42 wasn't fair. Me having to rebuild my life alone isn't fair. And you assaulting me because of your guilt and grief certainly wasn't fair." "I said I'm sorry," Diane cried, drawing attention from the receptionist. "What more do you want?" "I want you to face consequences for once in your life," I said evenly. "You've always done whatever you wanted and expected Jeff to smooth things over. Well, Jeff's gone, and I'm done being your punching bag." "Michael says you're just doing this for attention," Diane snapped, reverting to anger. "Or maybe money." I laughed bitterly. "Medical bills and therapy aren't cheap, Diane. But this isn't about money. It's about you learning that you can't treat people this way." "If you don't drop the charges, this will get ugly," Diane threatened, leaning forward. "I'll tell everyone what a cold, heartless witch you've been since Jeff died." "Go ahead," I challenged. "While you're at it, explain the burns on my neck and chest. Explain the 4 witnesses. Explain the security footage." Diane stood abruptly. "You'll regret this, Alice. I swear to God, you will." "Is that another threat?" I asked calmly, noticing Emily approaching with her phone held up, obviously recording. Because that would really help the prosecutor's case. "You're twisting my words," Diane shouted, suddenly noticing Emily. "Are you recording me? Stop that!" She lunged toward Emily, who stepped back quickly. The security guard immediately moved between them. "Ma'am, I need you to leave the premises now," he said firmly to Diane. "This isn't over," Diane hissed at me as the guard escorted her toward the exit. "Actually, it is," I called after her. "And Diane, those watches you wanted? I'm keeping all of them." 2 months later, I sat in the courtroom as Diane's lawyer and the prosecutor approached the judge's bench. After a brief conference, they returned to their tables. "The state has reached a plea agreement with the defendant," the prosecutor announced. The judge nodded. "Proceed." "Diane Weber will plead guilty to assault in the 3rd degree. The state recommends 6 months probation, mandatory anger management classes, a $2,000 fine, and a restraining order preventing contact with the victim for 2 years. The judge looked at Diane. "Mrs. Weber, do you accept these terms?" Diane, looking pale and subdued in her conservative blue suit, nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." "Very well," the judge said. "The court accepts your plea. Sentencing will be carried out as recommended." Outside the courtroom, Mark waited with Emily and Charlotte. All 3 rushed forward as I emerged. "How did it go?" Mark asked anxiously. "She took the plea," I said, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. "Probation, fine, anger management, and a restraining order." "That's great," Emily exclaimed. "Are you okay with it?" "I think so," I nodded. The prosecutor said jail time was unlikely for a first offense anyway. Charlotte looked relieved. I'm glad it's over. Testifying against Diane was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Thank you for doing it, I said sincerely. I know she was your friend. Was being the operative word, Charlotte sighed. Her behavior since Jeff died has been eye-opening. As we talked, I spotted Michael approaching hesitantly. Alice, can we speak privately? Mark stepped protectively closer to me. Anything you need to say, you can say in front of us. Michael looked uncomfortable but nodded. Diane wanted me to ask one more time if you'd consider dropping the restraining order. She's having a hard time accepting that she can't contact you or come to Jeff's grave when you might be there. The restraining order was part of the plea deal she accepted, I said firmly. And frankly, it's the only part I really care about. She's still family, Michael insisted. Jeff wouldn't have wanted— Stop, I interrupted. Jeff isn't here to weigh in, and you don't get to use him as a manipulation tactic. Diane's sorry, Michael tried again. She started therapy. She's really trying to change. Good for her, I said, meaning it. I hope she gets the help she needs, but that doesn't mean I have to have her in my life. So that's it? Michael asked incredulously. Years of family connection just over? It ended when she threw coffee on me, I said simply. Actions have consequences, Michael. This is hers. As Michael walked away, defeated, Mark put his arm around my shoulders. You doing okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find I meant it. For the first time in a while, I think I am. Later that evening, we all gathered at my place. I'd finally finished redecorating the living room, removing the dark, heavy furniture Jeff had preferred for lighter, brighter pieces that felt more like me. I love what you've done with the place, Charlotte said, looking around. It feels peaceful. Thanks, I smiled. It's starting to feel like home again. Emily raised her glass. To new beginnings, and to Alice, who showed us all what real strength looks like. And to boundaries, Mark added. May we all learn to set them as clearly as Alice has. I thought about Jeff as we toasted, about how he'd always tried to keep the peace with his sister, often at his own expense, about how he'd want me to be happy, even without him. You know, I said thoughtfully, I kept thinking this whole ordeal was about getting justice, but it was really about learning to stand up for myself. That's the best revenge, Emily smiled. Living well on your own terms. Speaking of living well, Mark said hesitantly, that new Italian place downtown just opened. Would you maybe want to check it out sometime? No financial planning involved, I promise. I felt a flutter of something I hadn't experienced in months. Possibility. You know what? I think I would. What would you say to people going through something similar? Charlotte asked. If they were reading your story? I considered the question carefully. I'd say that sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who try to control you the most. Real love means supporting someone's choices, even when they're different from what you'd choose. And, I added, looking around at the friends who'd stood by me, I'd say that family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when it matters. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family after losing someone you loved? What helped you move forward? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories.